Hello everyone, welcome to this event. I also would like to welcome our audience online. Thank you for taking your time to attend this valuable lecture. And today we have a very distinguished speaker. Let's welcome Dr. Mei. Thank you everyone. Dr. Mei, before you start the lecture, could you please explain why today you choose this topic, the millennial wisdom of the plant-based diet for wellness? This topic reminded me of how loquats are starting to bud, and the taste of these plants is truly wonderful. Their seeds can be planted and they will start to sprout and grow. Since I love eating loquats, I sent them to friends in Beijing, Hubei, and even all over the country. It made me wonder if loquat seeds could also travel and take roots in even more distant places. I've realized that plants are incredibly wise. Even though we eat their fruits, their lives keep extending without any stop. Plants can be spread to even more places. That's a form of wisdom. I believe seeds hold great power. If you have a seed, a miracle will happen. So that's why today I decided to have a talk about the millennial wisdom of the plant-based diet for wellness. To add to what Dr. Mei mentioned before, I would like to introduce Dr. Mei a little bit. She graduated from Nanjing University of Chinese Medicine. She will explain how the power and wisdom of the plant-based diet will help with wellness. Because my profession, many friends ask me saying they had high blood pressure and cholesterol, what they shouldn't eat. They shouldn't drink sugary beverages. Yes, that's correct. And they also ask me how should they lower their blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar. If you want to lower blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar, you should have a natural plant-based diet. Take exercise regularly and get good sleep. Let me tell you the story of my client, a 40-year-old woman, Miss P. After the Chinese New Year, she had a checkup and found her fasting blood sugar was 17. She started changing her diet and taking exercise, and also discovered that she had a habit of eating late-night snacks. I suggested she change her staple for oat rice, which is good for stabilizing blood sugar, and have a plant-based diet. I also suggested she take a 13 to 16 minute walk after meals. She liked walking and started doing so after dinner every day. She stopped staying up late and eating late night snacks. She started the changes on March 11th. Since then, her fasting blood sugar has dropped from 17 to 13.6 to 11.7 and eventually to 6.7, and her blood sugar 2 hours after meals was also kept between 5 to 6. Up until now, it has been over 1 year. Her blood sugar has been very stable. There was a very famous study by Stanford University, which involved 22 pairs of identical twins over 8 weeks. The identical twins have the same genes, and in this study, one twin followed a plant-based diet and the other followed an omnivorous diet. The assignment of diets was completely randomized. This experiment is very interesting. It's very objective. For the plant-based group, they eat grains and also they restricted the intake of added sugar. The omnivorous group could eat meat. The experiment was not for weight management, so it had no energy restrictions. Participants could eat until they were full. After 8 weeks, the plant-based diet group showed a significant decrease in weight, even though they ate until they were full at every meal. Besides, their LDL cholesterol levels also decreased. You can look at the comparison between the two groups. In that experiment among twins for 8 weeks, the plant-based diet group could achieve weight loss even though they were allowed to eat until they were full. We could see the differences between the two groups. It deserves mention that all the participants were allowed to eat until they were full. Markers for certain chronic health problems such as LDL, cholesterol, and insulin also showed improvements. Therefore, if we want to manage our weight, we can consider how to adjust our diet. Eating less may be a choice, but we can look at the plant-based group. They ate until they were full, but they still could control their weights. We can effectively manage our weight through exercise and sleep, but diet is also crucial, including the timing, type, and order of our food intake. Our metabolism is quicker during the day and slower at night, so we should have a higher energy foods during the day and eat less for dinners. As the saying goes, we should eat a healthy breakfast, a full lunch, and a light dinner. The timing and type of food are also very important. This is particularly relevant for the first case where the clients had a high fasting blood sugar level. Therefore, the kinds of foods she ate were crucial. Foods that are beneficial for blood sugar and cholesterol levels, for example, oats, are excellent choices. Let's first take a look at food types. On May 16, 2025, the new Healthy Eating Guide was published. The first point states that vegetables and fruits provide abundant vitamins, minerals, and dietary fibers and phytochemicals. Increasing your fruit and vegetable intake as part of a plant-based diet can help manage weight and lower the risk of developing certain chronic health problems. The point number 12 states that whole grains are grains that retain their complete structure during processing. So for those who like to eat grain flour, it is suggested to eat whole grain rice instead, so as to take some dietary fiber and B vitamins. A lot of literature shows that whole grains can help to maintain a healthy weight, excellent for weight management. The dietary fiber they provide can help with the digestion, keep us feeling full, and also provide a rich group of vitamins. Therefore, whole grains are good choices because you can eat until you are full without having too many nutrients. When we are about 17 or 18% full, there is a 10 to 20 minutes delay between how we are feeling and the actual situation. That's why we end up overeating. For the first bite, it suggests to have some plant-based food. Some chronic health diseases are linked to unhealthy eating habits. We will discuss this in depth later. To put it simply, it's like putting speed bumps on glucose absorption, which can reduce sugar absorption. For the second part, it suggests to have a high quality protein that will activate incretin hormones in your gut, slowing down how fast your blood sugar rises, creating a beneficial physiological response. For the third bite, you can have some whole grains. Eating vegetables first, then main staple can prevent post-meal blood sugar from surging. So having the 3 bites is good for weight management. Now about exercise. People are asking what kind of exercise is the best. 8 trigrams, boxing, tai chi, and walking are all good choices. You can choose any exercise you like. If the exercise doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, it is for you. So you should find the exercise that you like and can stick with. There's one exercise that is quite popular: jogging. You can run, for example, 60 minutes every day, 5 days a week. If you only have 30 minutes a week, that is also fine. My advice is to start by running comfortably without getting sore, painful, stiff, or out of breath. You can even jog while watching a TV series. When you are listening to a lecture or watching a TV series or a football game, you can jog at the same time, easily for 13 or 14 minutes. That's not tiring and even great. Your whole body will be activated. That's an easy start. When you are jogging, the key is to let your toes and foot land first and then the heel gently touch down. This can help to reduce counter force. It's very easy, isn't it? What are the benefits of this kind of exercise? That coach guided a client who did 3 months of jogging. Just look at his blood pressure, blood sugar, glycated hemoglobin, weight, and waist circumference. Of course, he changed his diet. So you can just keep jogging in a relaxing and easy way. 7 days a week, just do it. Right? You can even go a little bit faster and you can learn about jogging online without putting too much mental pressure on yourself and stick with it 7 days a week. Or you can do it 3 days a week. Then about sleep. Why do we need to talk about sleep? Do you still remember the first case? Why did her blood sugar surge so suddenly? That's because she stayed up late and ate late night snacks. So do not burn the midnight oil too often. Then your intake will decrease. A very important point for weight management is to go to bed before 11 p.m. and get at least 7 hours of sleep. Then you will get healthier and healthier. I would like to share a recent case. The client suffered from poor sleep quality for a long time. Waste easily build up in his brain, which will hinder nutrient absorption. A 20-year international study shows that if that continues over the long run, it will lead to a decline in the body's functions and cause various symptoms, even more problems in one's old age. That is why sleep is so important. We asked 8 people aged from 56 to 79 to follow a plant-based diet for 11 days and found their blood sugar and cholesterol levels improved significantly. We noticed that these participants' fasting blood sugar improved to different degrees, and their cholesterol levels, triglycerides also improved. The indicators of 3 participants even turned to a normal range. LDL cholesterol, which is most irrelevant to cardiovascular problems, also become normal for 4 of those individuals. The youngest participant, who was just 56 years old, tried the plant-based diet. Then he continued to stick with it. I recommended he make oat rice his staple. The follow-up study found that His fasting blood sugar dropped from 11.72 to 9.29 and then continued to decrease, stabilizing between 7.6 and 8.6. A plant-based diet is incredibly important. It will impact our life and health. Besides, a plant-based diet can reduce harm to living beings, allowing us to take better care of the other species who share the planet with human beings. At the same time, such a diet will help to reduce carbon emissions, which is beneficial to the Earth. Eating one less kilogram of beef can cut 20 kilograms of carbon emissions, as meat products generally have higher carbon footprints, while vegetables have virtually zero. You can have a look at this diagram. Therefore, having a plant-based diet is a good way to sustain the life on the earth and promotes harmonious coexistence. Someone just asked me if a plant-based diet will lead to protein deficiency. We can have a look at this diagram. Nuts have a lot of proteins. This is also true of beans. Vegetables, they all have proteins. Fruits, and even avocado are all rich in proteins, and avocado has a lot of unsaturated fats which are much better to the body and to cardiovascular health. The next question is whether a plant-based diet will lead to vitamin deficiency. A plant-based diet can offer a wide range of vitamins as well, such as vitamins A, B, C, D, and E. Therefore, a plant-based diet is a good source for vitamins. Carrots are particularly good or rich in vitamin A and B vitamins. If you're not a professional nutritionist and are unsure how to plan your diet, it's suggested to eat as wide a range of foods as possible. The more diverse the colors of the food we eat, namely eat the rainbow, the better it supports our cardiovascular system, brain, digestive tract, liver, and kidneys. Therefore, if you are unsure how to approach your diet, you can follow one simple principle: eat a wide variety of foods, including whole grains, nuts, vegetables, and fruits, etc. There are some misconceptions about the plant-based diet. For example, myths about protein. It's not true that more protein is always better. Should we eat animal protein or plant protein? Dr. Campbell, who is 90 years old last year, is often hailed as the Einstein of nutrition. He is the author of the China Study and a strong advocate for a low-fat, whole-food, plant-based diet. Even now, as a 90 years old, Dr. Campbell keeps doing exercise daily, running or walking between 5,000 to 8,000 meters. He grew up on a farm with a meat-heavy animal-based diet. However, after studying nutrition, he changed his eating habits because of some findings that he discovered. Dr. Campbell conducted a famous study where he fed rats aflatoxin, which may induce liver tumors. He then divided the rats into groups. Within one group, a high dose, for example 20% of animal protein, and another low dose, namely 5%. He observed that the high dose animal protein promoted tumor development, while the low dose did not. That led him to wonder if all proteins had the same effects, promoting him to conduct another experiment. He then experimented with 20% of plant-based proteins and found that the rat's tumors did not develop. This is a very interesting experiment. You can find his research paper and experiment results online. So is more protein always better? Plant protein and animal protein, which one is better? I think you have the answers now. It's worth learning from Dr. Campbell's approach to wellness. Beans are rich in proteins 2 to 3 times more than those of wheat and rice. Beans are also rich in dietary fiber and starch. Beans are also rich in nutrients, including vitamin E, iron, and calcium. They are very good to our health. Dr. Campbell also eats whole grains and coarse cereals like oats, which can contain water-soluble fiber, vitamins, and minerals, which can help to clean out intestinal waste and stabilize chronic health issues. Dr. Campbell also eats a small handful of blueberries every day. Blueberries have a lot of anthocyanin. They have the highest anthocyanin content among all fruits and can help to prevent cholesterol accumulation. Blueberries are also rich in vitamin K, which is incredibly beneficial for both blood and bone health. He also eats avocados, which are rich in fiber, help you feel full, and reduce appetite. Every 100 grams of avocado contains only about 0.9 grams of sugar, making it a low sugar food. It also rich in unsaturated fatty acids or good fats. However, avocados are high in calories, so half an avocado a day is usually enough. He eats other foods rich in healthy fats such as nuts and seeds, including walnuts, cashews, almonds, and black sesame. These foods have unsaturated fatty acids, proteins, dietary fiber, and vitamins, gets minerals, and many trace elements as well. Many people might ask, will a plant-based diet lead to iron or calcium deficiencies? Let's look at the 2002 Chinese food composition table. Taking nuts as an example, peanuts are very high in both calcium and iron. Peanut kernels have an even higher calcium content. Black sesame, for instance, contains 718 milligrams of calcium and 22.7 milligrams of iron. So a plant-based diet doesn't necessarily mean iron or calcium deficiency. In fact, it provides a wealth of minerals and trace elements. As long as we know how to eat, compared with animal-based diets, plant-based diets also offer rich sources of both calcium and iron. Let's look at vegetables. In terms of calcium, fish meat has 123 grams, shepherd's purse has 294 grams, carrots has 350 grams, and amaranth has 713 grams. All of them are all high in calcium and iron. Let's also look at fungi, like white mushrooms, which contain 24 milligrams of calcium and 119 milligrams of iron. Seaweed provides 241 milligrams of calcium and 3.3 milligrams of iron. These are all incredibly nutritious. Move on to grains. Buckwheat, for example, has 130 milligrams of calcium and 14.7 milligrams of iron. Therefore, for friends who are prone to anemia, I highly recommend considering buckwheat as an excellent food choice. I also recommend stewing peanuts with their skins on together with lotus root to make a soup. That soup is truly delicious, absolutely amazing. If we cut yam and lotus, they will turn dark. That's because they contain iron. Peanuts with their skins are also good for enriching the blood. So you can stew all three of them together, and if you add some cashews, the soup becomes truly delicious. We've collected 7 questions about plant-based diets. Hope Dr. Mei could help to answer them. The first question: many people are wondering which has better absorption, plant-based protein or animal-based protein. Since a plant-based diet is so powerful, can plant-based protein really surpass animal-based protein? Dr. Mei, what's your answer? Thank you for the question. I think that comparing the two kinds of proteins from a single perspective isn't objective, so I made a table to compare them across several aspects, including amino acid composition, absorption rate, absorption speed, nutritional value, and lactose intolerance. For plant proteins, soybeans and quinoa contain all the essential amino acids your body needs. However, other plant protein sources might lack one or two essential amino acids. That efficiency, however, can be easily resolved through food pairing within your diet. Beans and grains can complete each other's amino acid profiles. Animal proteins, on the other hand, contain all 9 essential amino acids your body needs. From an absorption rate perspective, plant-based proteins generally have lower absorption due to anti-nutritional factors like lectin. Animal proteins are structurally more similar to human proteins with a digestion rate close to 100%. They are rich in nutrients like vitamins. However, when considering absorption speed, plant protein molecules are smaller, easier to absorb. Animal proteins molecules are larger, having a relatively slower absorption. Let's move on to nutritional value. Plant proteins are rich in dietary fiber, which will contribute to digestion and bowel movements. They also serve as excellent antioxidants, contain unsaturated fatty acids, and have a lower cholesterol, good to your cardiovascular system. Animal proteins, on the other hand, tend to be higher in cholesterol and are almost entirely composed of saturated fats, which aren't so good to heart health. Therefore, whether the absorption rate is higher or a bit lower in plant proteins doesn't really matter. Although plant proteins have a slightly lower absorption rate, its faster absorption speed can prevent bloating, plus it contains fiber, vitamins, and other nutrients. So I think you know the answer to the question now. At the same time, plant protein has almost no impact on lactose intolerance, safe to eat, especially for East Asians, as some individuals experience indigestion, bloating, or diarrhea when having animal proteins due to lactose intolerance. Therefore, this table can help you make your own choices and judgments. Yes, it's not correct to simply compare animal and plant proteins based solely on absorption efficiency. We really need to make the comparison from various angles. Dr. Mei listed five aspects. While animal proteins might seem better in terms of absorption efficiency, we absolutely must factor in things like absorption speed, nutritional value, and lactose intolerance. We need to have a much more comprehensive assessment. Now, let's move on to the second question. That's why it's particularly relevant to many people with diabetes. Do they have to eat only oats every day, or are there any other alternatives? If you're not someone with diabetes, you have a wide range of choices. However, if you are, I strongly recommend you control your blood sugar, as high blood sugar can lead to other health complications. Therefore, you should manage your blood sugar. It can impact your cardiovascular system and even influence your kidneys. So I suggest that, as I mentioned in the first case, once you discover abnormal fasting blood sugar, you should control it quickly. During that period of blood sugar control, it is better to have oat rice as your primary staple. Why? Let's first look at the indicator GI, which refers to the speed at which blood sugar rises. The slower the GI, the slower your blood sugar will rise. Some common foods like potatoes, sweet potatoes, yams, and corn are considered high GI foods. It's crucial to be aware of that, especially with corn. There's a common misunderstanding that eating whole grain and relying on corn as a staple will effectively control blood sugar, but in reality, the fact isn't good, so you need to be very careful. Similarly, you should also be cautious with food that have a medium GI value, such as pumpkin, taro, and celeriac. For other low GI foods, you can eat them freely. These foods will help you feel full while providing abundant nutrients. If your blood sugar is already well controlled, you can decide whether you would like to continue to have them or not. Diet is crucial, including the timing, type, order of your meals. If we know how to effectively manage and combine these three aspects, we can better control our blood sugar and live a healthier life. Thank you, Dr. Mei. Next, let's look at the third question. Many people frequently ask about milk. I believe a lot of people, both online and offline, love drinking latte, which usually contain milk. So the question we often get is, can milk actually help with sleep? Additionally, if someone truly wants to adopt a plant-based diet, are there any good milk alternatives they can choose from? Dr. Mei, what's your answer? Our brain produces something called a happiness molecule, which is serotonin. It helps stabilize our mood, relax our mind, reduce worries, and promote good sleep. The raw material for serotonin is tryptophan, so we recommend choosing tryptophan-rich foods for dinner, such as soybeans, tofu, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin, peanuts, bananas, and kiwis. Eating these fruits can lift your spirit and also improve our sleep at night. Those who experience poor sleep often lack B vitamins. So, what foods have the highest amount of B vitamins? Brown rice or multi-grain rice are excellent sources. Additionally, dark green leafy vegetables like asparagus, spinach, sweet potato leaves, or Chinese broccoli can all contribute to better sleep. Here's a small reminder: no matter what you eat, if you struggle with sleep, avoid spicy or stimulating foods in the evening. That helps prevent us from getting too excited or overstimulated, which can disrupt sleep. Thank you for your answer. Let's look at the fourth question. Some pregnant women want to know, is it safe to follow a plant based diet during pregnancy? Will it lead to malnutrition for the baby? Some people have these concerns. What's your answer, Dr. Mei? That question really depends on the individual because every pregnant woman's situation is unique. A simple answer might not apply to other people. Modern pregnant women are increasingly prone to developing elevated gestational blood sugar. A lot of my friends are experiencing this problem. Naturally, people also worry if a plant based diet during pregnancy might lead to an insufficient or incomplete nutritional intake for the baby. Actually, I have many friends whose families have followed a plant based diet for several generations. Certain religions have adopted a fully plant based diet for generations. Even figures like Einstein and many athletes have followed plant based diets. The truth is, as long as we understand how to ensure a diverse range of food types and reasonable combinations, a plant based diet can provide all the nutrition one needs. We also need to adjust the diet for each pregnant woman based on her specific constitution and the stage of pregnancy. If you are interested, you can find many pregnant women sharing their plant based diet experiences online. How did they manage their nutrition during pregnancy? We can discuss that topic in depth later, as everyone's situation is different. Thank you, Dr. Mei, for your answer. Let's move on to our fifth question. You just touched upon whether beans can replace meat as a protein source. Also, some people interested in plant-based diet might prefer to use protein powder for their protein intake instead of whole foods. How should one choose the most suitable protein powder? Since we are choosing a plant-based diet, hoping to give this healthy way of eating a try, I recommend you should choose natural, less processed foods. This approach allows you to truly taste the original flavors and freshness of your food. Dr. Campbell's experiments have clearly demonstrated that plant-based proteins are an excellent choice. Regarding protein powder selection, we need to be aware that what the market refers to as meat protein is primarily animal protein, while gluten actually refers to plant protein. Thank you for the answer. Let's move on to the sixth question. Some people are concerned about what nutrients people might lack if they keep having a plant based diet over the long run. What's your answer? I want to quote Dr. Campbell's idea, particularly since he is 90 years old and follows a natural whole food plant based diet. How does he choose his nutritional supplements? How those supplements work on his health? He recommends supplementing with vitamin D and vitamin B12. Why? Because especially for older adults, the efficiency of synthesizing vitamin D is lower, so it's worth considering appropriate supplementation. Of course, many of those foods we mentioned earlier are rich in vitamins like calcium. However, we need sunlight exposure and exercise to better convert calcium into vitamin D. So it is beneficial to supplement with calcium. Many studies indicated that people following a plant-based diet might have vitamin B12 deficiency, as its primary sources are certain fermented foods and we might fail to consume enough of such foods like fermented tofu. Therefore, it's suggested to supplement with vitamin B12 that's also applicable for people with sensitive stomach. Thank you. The next question is, many people are quite interested in how to age healthily and gracefully. Our life is getting better and better with excellent nutrition and healthcare services. As a result, the average lifespan for people in our country is approaching 80 years old. However, as we age, the question becomes, how can we maintain our health and age gracefully? According to statistics, there are over 310 million people aged over 16, making up 22% of the total population. Those aged 65 exist 220 million, accounting for 15.6% of population. The population is still aging. It's projected that around 2050, the elderly population will peak at 487 million, representing 34.9% of total population, meaning one out of every three people will be an elder. The society is aging. As we get older, some of our body's functions naturally start to decline. This is a normal part of aging and can't be reversed. Everyone will eventually face chronic health issues, which can gradually reduce our quality of life so that we have to rely on others' support. That definitely will impact our happiness and dignity in the later part of our life. So, how can we age healthily? As I just mentioned, the average lifespan in our country is close to 80 years old. During the last 8 to 9 years of our lives, we will encounter health issues. So, as we approach the end of our journey, the question we need to consider is, how can we stay healthy and be part of the healthy group rather than the unhealthy one? According to the 2024 Alzheimer's disease report, even if you feel that disease far away from us, the incidence of the disease increases significantly with age. Therefore, we really need to think about how to age healthily. As we just discussed, a plant-based diet can effectively delay and stabilize chronic diseases and health issues. So it's a great method. As we enter our late years and gradually age, and when we notice our memory declining or our eyesight weakening, how can we make wise choices for our health and future? We can start deciding our future right now. The changes we make today will determine our tomorrow. We discussed a lot of things before. We discussed a plant-based diet. That kind of diet is incredibly nutritious, and as long as we know how to keep such a diet, it can effectively help manage chronic disease and health issues. I hope what I shared today can bring you one more option for your health. Starting from now, you are paving the way for your future. Dr. Campbell, who was born in the rural area in a farmer's family, has changed his diet from a traditional one to a plant-based one. You can also change by having plant-based meals on Mondays or just for dinners. These are all smart choices that can set you on a healthier path. Thank you. Dr. Mei, for your wonderful sharing. Whether it is for dietary habits or exercise, you cleared up so many doubts. I truly believe, just as Dr. May mentioned before, we should start adopting a plant-based diet now. We can take a gradual approach, perhaps beginning with one plant-based meal a day, then slowly increasing to two, or even fully embracing it like what Dr. Campbell or Dr. May herself did. We can commit to a plant-based diet every day. It will not only make us healthier but also help us live a happier life. As today's topic shows, achieving good health, but ultimately I hope everyone finds joy in it. That concludes our live streaming session for today. Thank you to all our online audience for joining us. Thank you.